Hello, my name is Greg, and in today's video we're going to look at the Xtool D1 Cable Management System. Many people have been having some issues with their cables flexing and breaking, so stay tuned and we'll take a look at how we can eliminate that. Welcome back. Before we take a look at the machine, let's take a look at one individual cable so that we can kind of take a look at what's happening when our cables are fatiguing and breaking. So here I have a spare cable. I've got the connector here in my left hand, and I'm going to pretend my right hand is the gantry crane. When the gantry of the machine is moving around on a project, we can take a look at the motor connector and see that a lot of the flex of the cable is being focused just at the connector, and this is where we're finding a lot of the cable flex and breakage on these cables. To avoid this area, what we like to do is provide an anchor point upstream of that connector. That way when the cable flexes, it's not being focused all in one area. Next, let's take a look at the actual machine and how some of the cables can be run on here to maximize their lifespan. Here we have the actual laser head, and when I set mine up, I made sure that to the both extremes I have enough cable flex so that a lot of it's not too focused just in one area. Now I know in this case here, because I've isolated the anchor point above the attachment point behind the motor, and we'll take a look at that in just a minute, I know that most of the flex is through here, and it's a very minimal focused area at just the laser head itself. Here's that same movement just with the machine reversed around. So we're just looking from the back side of the machine, and as we can see, I'm able to move to both sides, and yeah, these cables from Xtool, it would be nice if there was an extra 2, maybe 3 inches on both lengths of the cable. But as I move this back and forth, we can see that I have absolutely no flex in the cable between the connector and the anchor point up. In this next area, let's take a look at the motor connection, because this is another popular area, unfortunately, where the cables tend to fatigue and fail. Get zoomed in a little bit more. So I'll do the same thing here. What I do is I move the gantry back and forth by hand, and we can see that there is absolutely no movement of the wires at the actual connector. And that is because it's a little bit difficult to see, but I used one of the included zip ties with the machine, and I zip tied the cable to the actual motor itself, and from there it wires off to the motor and then up to the laser head itself. One of the main things that we want to do is make sure that we anchor the cable before the connection to the motor or to the laser head. In this view, we can see all 3 motor cables and connectors are tucked behind the rotating gantry shaft. There's a piece of blue tape. We can kind of see that rotating on the right hand side of the screen. When I run these cables, I make sure that they're pushed far enough away from that rotating shaft so that none of those cables are touching, but I'm using as little cable length as possible to do this. That way I save some of that cable length for when I'm at the laser head and at the gantry motor, so that I can provide enough flex in that cable not to create a focus point for that flex where we would have fatigue and cable breakage. Also noted is I do have the Wi-Fi cable. It's a black little wire right here, that too is also tucked safely behind that rotating shaft.